Steel beats roll a distant wage. Truckers' voices crying through the night. Tales of speed and endless fights. Miles and miles, all our strength we give. All in dreams, we fight to live. Lonely highways call our name. In this life, we find our fame. Neon lights and diner blues. Truck stops where we share the news. Turning wheels in endless miles. Stories fill the smoky aisles. Miles and miles, all our strength we give. All in dreams, we fight to live. Lonely highways call our name. In this life, we find our fame. Neon lights and diner blues. Truck stops where we share the news. Turning wheels and endless miles. Stories fill the smoky aisles. Miles and miles, all our strength we give. All in dreams, we fight to live. Lonely highways.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's doing good out there. I hope that your wheels turned safely today. I hope that you got your loads where they were supposed to go. And more importantly, I hope that you got home to your families and that you enjoying some rest time. But if you're out there still trucking today, my hat's off to you, and you're listening to us tonight on Truckers Voices. Hey, we got a good show in store for you tonight. We got Miss Elisabeth Barna coming on here in just a few minutes after me and Steve get through rambling there. But I think that you guys are going to want to stick around until the end of the show and see what's going on. I appreciate everybody listening. We're over here on Facebook and YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So we have it covered for you. It's been a good day of trucking for me. I will tell you, yesterday and the day before was kind of one of those days where you don't ever make plans in this industry, because if it can go wrong, it'll go wrong. I sit on the side of the road for 4.5 hours trying to get a tire changed. And then when the guy got there, it took him about an hour and a half to get the tires changed. So, hey, it wasn't a good day, but at the end of the day, it was a good day because I made it home safely. So that's what counts. And but we appreciate y'all listening to us tonight. And like I said, we got this show lined up for you and a lot of good stuff. We will take calls toward the end of the show tonight. Y'all be ready to dial that number tonight. I can only take one phone call at a time, but I'm sure that y'all going to want to hear what Elisabeth has to say. And but anyway, without any further ado, let me bring Steve in here. He looks like he's really grasping to get in here, so I'm going to bring old Steve in here on his walk-on song. How about that?
Me rolling, they hating, patrolling and trying to catch me riding dirty.
Right, dirty's what I've been doing, man. My truck is filthy. Good Lord have mercy. It rains every daggone day. And hey, by the way, folks, when it rains and you start slowing down, that doesn't give you the right to pick up your phone. Okay, please leave the phone down. Pay attention what's going on. But anyway, that's my rant for the day. So, I mean, I sat there, and when the brake lights come on, they start slowing down. They immediately pick this thing up and start doing all this. And I'm like, come on, people, don't do that. Don't do that.
Right. Exactly, Steve.
That's when you had the old bewitched nose, you could just, make their phone die or something. I don't know. But
I tell you what, it's that just goes true to say what my motto is: you got to look out for those who aren't looking out for themselves, because there's definitely a lot of people that's not looking out for themselves. I had somebody come over from the third lane to the exit ramp the other day, just right in front of me. For some reason, being in the trucking industry and doing this for as long as we done it, we almost have the instinct, because I knew that car was fixing to do what it did. But and in Atlanta, Georgia, it's really tough, and you really got to be on your toes at all times for sure.
Yeah, and that used to tickle the kids because I'd say, "Kids, watch his car. What he's going to do this," and I would insert whatever they're going to do, and they would do it. They're like, "Dad, how do you know that?" I said, "I'm psychic." You know, but I mean, it's just like you said. You see this day after day after day, and you just call the shots. You know what they're going to do, so which is good because that means we can roll out of it. We can be prepared for it. But sometimes they throw one in there on you ain't ready for. You ain't ready for. But
Got that? Got
you know,
that? You want to take care of that for us right there, Steve?
yeah, the views expressed on this show are those of the host and the guest only, and do not reflect those of others.
All
So,
right. We
hey,
all have our own opinions, so there you go.
I want to call out a couple people here. Last week I was in Fargo, and I was up there at the TDC, and I want to congratulate David Cummings on winning the 5-axle class and
Absolutely.
grand champion. And he
Absolutely.
called into the show several times, and we need to get him on. But anyway, I had a gentleman walk up to me, and he started talking about truckers' voices. Well, Drew Bartleston out of Fargo up there, he won the tank class, and he listens. And we talked about the show. And I just want to give a shout out to him, say thank you for listening. Thank you to his wife. She uses my slogan: the most important trip is the trip home. And I mean, what a great time. And other people come up and talk to me about the show and everything. So, hey, we're getting out there, folks. We're getting out there. I like it.
I tell you, we actually had that one call from Australia that one night, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Two little bitty old truck drivers, we're having a lot of fun, getting a lot of information out there and hearing everybody's story.
Well,
Uh,
here's the truth behind it, Steve. Is we love our industry. We love what we do. We have a passion for it, and we want to hear the stories about how people got in a truck and what different kind of trucks they've driven. And industry leaders such as Rebecca Brewster and Elizabeth's coming on. They're part of this trucking industry also, and they have a story to tell also. And it's pretty interesting. We got some good guests coming up in the near future. You want to speak to the one that's coming up next week, just real quick, like before we bring Elizabeth on?
talk about Paul.
Paul. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have Paul Sagehorn on. He's the proud owner of the BJ and the Bear truck, the 1980 cab over Kenworth, and the original trailer. And going to hear his story. He's also a truck driver. His father was a truck driver. And I can't wait to hear the story. So we look forward to that coming on next week.
Yeah, I was really excited to talk to Paul the other day, and I want to hear what he's got to say, and especially, I mean, I watched BJ and the Bear when I was growing up, and
I did too. I mean, my moving on. I mean, moving on got it started, and with Sonny and Will, and then of course now you go back and watch episodes on YouTube or something like that. You see the fakeness, of Hollywood, but I mean, it's kind of like go back to Smokey and the Bandit. You watch Smokey and the Bandit, one scene. I know I'm not the only guy that notices this. The tandems are slid all the way up. Then the next scene, the tandems are slid all the way back. The motorcycle scene, if you catch it just right, you can see an extension on the bumper. I mean, come on.
You're ruining it, Steve. You're ruining it.
I know it's Hollywood, but I love it. But, you're right. I love this industry. I love to talk about it. Love to hear about it. Go see the old trucks, things that I never drove.
Right.
It's just like, wow.
Right. Well, let's not keep our guests waiting in the virtual green room much longer. I'm sure you didn't leave her no snacks back there, but everybody, let's let's welcome Miss Elisabeth Barna to the stage, and we're gonna bring her in on our champions theme there. Okay. Miss Elisabeth Barna.
Hello, hello.
That theme right there should be
Funny.
special to you, Elizabeth.
Thanks so much for having me, you guys. I really am excited about today.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for carving out time for us. And I was excited when you said that you could come on. And so we want to hear from you. We want to hear about your story, about from the beginnings and how you got into the trucking industry. We got a few questions we want to ask you, and this hour will go by like that. And so we're excited about it tonight. So
Great.
anyway. So the floor is yours. So just go ahead and introduce yourself and just kind of tell us how you got into this great industry.
So I'm Elisabeth Barna. I have my own company now, EAB Strategies, but have spent 36 years in the trucking industry, 25 of those at American Trucking Associations. And I know these two guys pretty well, very well, from the America's Road team, which was one of the programs that I led for a long time. How I got into trucking, I had come to Washington after college for an internship and worked at the Grocery Manufacturers of America for a few years. That's everything on the store shelves that you all deliver. But the president had retired, and I was looking for something different to do, and found myself at the American Trucking Associations in the legal department. So I was there for just a few months, and eventually within the year landed up at ATA's Capitol Hill office. So I was at ATA for 7 years and then left for 8 years and worked with the union LTL carriers, the group that negotiated the National Master Freight Agreement. I did a lot of the communications and tried to work with the Teamsters Union on joint projects together. So there was a better relationship there, and we didn't sit down every 5 years from each other and have not talked to anybody. So we did some really good things together, and then went back to ATA and left there about 2.5 years ago.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to launch EAB Strategies, and, what's your mission behind your company?
Sure. I felt like after being at ATA for 25 years and doing almost everything there, I felt that it was really time for a change. I needed a new challenge and a chance to give back to the industry that had given me so much. It's hard when I was working at ATA, I had wore a lot of different hats. And so I didn't have enough time to do some of the things that I wanted to, or dig deep enough. I know with you guys, even I would be like, hi, and I'd be running somewhere else. And so not being able to spend as much time with the people that really made a difference to me. Over the years, like I said, I found myself constantly focused on like the next project or priority. And I really felt like it was time to realign my focus. And so I decided to launch my own consulting business and see how it goes. It's allowed me to stay connected to the people that I love and the industry I'm passionate about. I work directly with companies, with the state trucking associations, with other individuals in the industry, like safety directors and those folks, and especially the professional driver or the maintenance tech. And so I like that a lot. One of the things I like to do is try to help them achieve their goals. I've had the privilege of working with everything from CEOs, large companies to small companies, like I said, to everybody. And so it's really given me a big, bird's eye view, I guess I would say, into the industry overall. So I thought that, I could bring people, ideas, and solutions together to hopefully make the overall transportation industry it's the best it can be, and those companies or drivers, the best that they can be. I like to see the bigger picture, connect the dots, put the pieces together, and creatively, look at the challenges they face. So it's about making an impact and really sharing what I've learned and helping others succeed.
Okay. All right. So you would say that is your mission behind for launching EAB Strategies. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Go ahead, Steve.
I just got a comment. She brought the best out in me. You really did. You got me to open up, taught me how to talk about the industry without boring somebody. But no, thank you very much, because you are very good at bringing the best out of people.
Well, thank you so much. You guys, it was a pleasure working with all of you. And I love to watch everybody grow, especially both of you being able, to do this on your own. And I don't know if you guys have seen Paul Seville. He decided to launch his own seasoning rub sauce or spread. And he's now in, what is it, Jungle Gyms in Ohio. And so that just makes me so proud to watch a road team captain or potential road team captain or driver come in and, not have as much confidence as maybe they should, but be able to, over the years, build on that. And it warms my heart.
I'm gonna tell you, I was scared to death when I went through the selections process, and I know you can pick up on that easily. But yeah, and you're absolutely right, Elizabeth. I have grown through this process and have more confidence in myself, and especially when I taught Sunday school for 30 something years, but that helped me. But then again, when you're in a room full of guys that are up here and you think you're down here, it's intimidating for sure.
Well, I think the hardest part for those, and we'll get into the road team in a little bit,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's that everybody comes in thinking like, oh, I have so many accident-free miles and I won driver of the year or I won the NTDC. And then they get there and everybody has that.
Right.
And you sort of deflate a little bit, but it also makes you stronger and better and more relatable, I think.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you the question. You spent a lot of years at ATA in leadership roles of different kinds and everything. What was some of your most memorable moments?
Some of my most memorable moments, oh my gosh, there's so many. That's a hard one. I guess my very first memorable moment was when I was in the Hill office and the first highway bill iced tea was passed. I think for me, that was really seeing victory and seeing how a piece of legislation that large could make a difference in the overall industry, and also impact our members. I think that was when I really understood sort of the power of policy and advocacy. Even though I had seen it in my earlier job at the grocery manufacturers, I was part of this one. I think another standout has to be having both of our trucks for the first time on the White House lawn, having professional drivers there and CEOs and, just the amount of recognition and respect that the drivers deserved. They finally got that. That was pretty cool. Being able to park a truck at a state capitol or having a driver speak like you guys did to the media, just having a little kid's eyes open up, when they were talking to a professional driver. All those moments were about helping people understand the industry or wanting them to strive to want to be a professional driver. I think those are really memorable for me. I'd say another one was during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got a call and they said within 12 hours, I'm going to need all these videos of drivers that, showing how come they're essential and why they're essential, and sort of put a call out to everybody. And we got some back. Never I had any idea of how great a commercial that they were going to put together. Right. And, being able to see John Lex, Dion Herschel, I think Alfonso was in there and Tina, and seeing them featured like as a bigger part of not just trucking, but, warehousing and grocery and all that. That was a real point of pride for me, because that was me just making some phone calls and saying, you guys, if you got an iPhone, a Samsung, whatever, go ahead and do it. And they were able to do it. So I think that was really memorable. I mean, I would also, I know I'm rambling a bit, but I would also say just the relationships, every relationship, whether it was with the captain or someone at TMC, one of the techs that were, competing in Super Tech, or, a CEO or a director of safety, or, the COO of a company. I mean, all of those relationships have meant so much to me, and I've learned from everybody. So I think, that's been important as well. Obviously, the respect I have for the drivers, and your commitment is just absolutely immense. And so I think those are all really memorable. Probably the last one I would say is right before I left ATA, we moved into a new building in DC, and I had the responsibility of putting the lobby together, and was able to bring a sleeper tractor up 8 floors. They had taken it apart, everything but the engine came, and within a weekend, the folks at Fitzgerald had put it back together. It was thanks to the generous donation of Ruan. But we were able to do that. And folks wonder why we used Ruan. Years ago, Ruan had given ATA a nice financial boom, and we had made the Hill office the Ruan Transportation Center. And then when that was demolished and redone, the name didn't come back on to the building because it was a completely different look and feel. And so we felt that would be a good way to recognize what they had done years ago.
I got you. And I just want to backtrack on the question that Steve asked you. The trucks on the lawn at the White House, and you mentioned, our good friend, my mentor, John Lex, and take us back there and speak to that just a little bit, Elisabeth.
Sure. I mean, anything you do with the White House, and this is not a criticism, but happens very late in the game, and they need something very quickly. And so we didn't have, I think, but a weekend and a day maybe to get that put together. And we were able to luckily move both trucks to DC. I think they teamed them just to be, we had to be legal, obviously, and get them washed and everything. And so we were able to bring in some of the road team captains and some CEOs. And it was really, back then, it was really to talk about healthcare, but we took any advantage we could to educate, the president and the administration and our policymakers and really the general public about what the trucking industry does and who we are. And so that was awesome. And then, of course, as you mentioned, John Lex, and he was able to get up in the truck, and the president he came out, you had the CEOs on one side, the drivers on the other side, and President Trump just looked and he was like, I'm going with these guys. And so he first, ran over to the drivers, and he wanted to get up into the truck and was able to get up into the Mac. And John was going to show him around in there. And as, viral as it went, and still does today, he got a selfie with him and with the president. And that has just made such a difference in the image of the industry, being able to get 2 trucks on the White House lawn, and then John, which was an incredible representative of professional drivers out there to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I remember that like it was yesterday. I was in Orlando doing a speech for some mayors at Truckers Against Trafficking, and you had told me, hey, if you have any media there, reach out to Logan. And so I had to reach out to Logan, and I asked him a few questions. He kind of, prepped me a little bit just in case. And I'm like, and he said, I'm walking through the airport here in Dallas. And I'm like, I'm like, what are you doing in Dallas? So I turned on the news after I got through that night, and I was like, oh, now it makes sense.
Yeah, we had to keep it quiet because, with anything, nothing is for sure until it happens. So we wanted to, the White House had asked us to keep it quiet too until it actually happens as a sort of a big unveiling.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, let me get back to EAB strategies real quick. So can you share some of your recent, projects from EAB strategies, that you're
Sure.
particularly proud of?
Yeah, I just, there's a few of them, I would say. I just, at ATA, I had developed the Lead ATA program, the Emerging Leader program, and did that for, I think, 11 years before I left. And So I took that skill set with me and have started an emerging leader program at Knit League, which is the National Industrial Transportation League. They're basically the same as ATA, but they're the voice for the shippers.
Okay.
And so that's been really fun. And we've got this is their first time. I launched it and I'm going to lead it for them, but they've got 15 emerging leaders, and I've been doing one-on-one interviews with them and putting their profiles up on the Knit League LinkedIn page. I've got to tell you, the level of talent and insight these individuals have is really inspiring. It's like talking with you about your stories. And so I'm excited about that and excited to be able to do that. I think you guys know another big passion of mine is Race Across America.
Right.
And they're another one of my clients, although I've been personally involved with them for almost 20 years, 2 decades. But having them as a client now has taken that commitment to another level, I would say. What I'm doing for them is working directly with the state trucking associations, individual companies, and now national organizations like OIDA and NATSO, and even the National Waste and Recycling Association, to help grow and strengthen industry engagement. We're working with them on the truckloads of remembrance, so trying to get as many of their members, friends, family, community members to sponsor a veterans wreath. And so that's been really, really fun to really dig deep into Race Across America.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone on the convoy from Maine to Arlington now 2 years in a row. I've ridden in the truck with a Baylor trucking driver, Eduardo first, and then Chris this past year. And it's just been, really enlightening to see all that Reese does. They don't just put wreaths on the headstones of the fallen. Their mission is to remember, honor, and teach, and they do a lot more than that. So that's been really good. And then I guess one of the other ones that involved professional drivers has been, there was a group that was trying to develop some technology to come into the industry, recruiting technology, and they knew nothing about trucking, and they even admitted it. They weren't shy to say that. But I worked with them and conducted a number of one-on-one interviews with drivers to have them talk about what it was that was important that an application would have for a recruiter to look at. And, instead of just name, date, birth, CDL number, we asked them to include, what are you involved in? How many millions of miles of accident-free driving do you have? Truck driving championships, that type of thing. And so they were able to gather some real feedback. The drivers that I worked with were brutally honest, which is what I love, because that's the only way you can learn.
That's right.
And then they followed up. We followed up, and I worked with them on, once they got the technology developed, did testing with professional drivers. And what I'm really proud of is this company now has a really strong, have established a strong foothold in the industry, and they've got a number of clients, they've got testimonials, and they're really doing an incredible job. And I'm just proud of them for recognizing what they knew and what they didn't know, but also the drivers who took the time to help me and talk about really what it was like and educate them, and maybe even answer a few questions that everybody should know, but when you're not in trucking, you don't know.
That's right.
And so those, me, for what I do at EAB Strategies, is connecting people, connecting the dots, helping them be successful and succeed with a thoughtful strategy. And I feel like we did that.
Yeah, and I want to ask you one last question about that, and then I'll let Steve. I think Steve got some questions to ask you some more about the road team and stuff like that. So, how do you stay current and innovative in such a fast evolving industry? Because it's ever changing. Technology is ever changing.
Always changing. I make it a priority. You have to, especially if you're going to have your own company and be a consultant. So I make it a priority. I'm continuously reading the news, industry news, listening to podcasts to see what people have to say and do. And, always talking with a wide range of folks, from people that I've met before and new people, state association executives, safety directors, legal folks, regulatory experts, you guys, professional drivers, and then even the emerging leaders. I ask a lot of questions. I stay really curious, and I learn something new every day. For an example, this week I just came home, and I think I was telling you right early this morning, but from Salt Lake City, I was out there for a group called SMC3, and they had their Connections Conference. And I had the opportunity to interview Judy McReynolds from ArcBest, chairman and CEO, and then also Leo Aram, who is the founder of Uber Freight. So being able to put those questions together, you do a lot of research to prepare for that. And speaking with leaders like them, we got to hear like their firsthand what's on their minds. What do they think about the economy, the tariffs? It's always exciting and insightful. But then the event had also a lot more sessions that I got to sit back and listen to. And, the CEO of Target, they had a panel on cross-border. There was a panel on tariffs, the economy. So just participating in events like that, I think are really helpful, and all levels of the supply chain. And that's how I stay current. I read a lot and real world interaction, I guess I would say.
There you go. There you go. All right, go ahead, Steve.
With that being said, I just want to comment. We talk about 3.5 million truck drivers in the industry. We talk about another 3.5 million people that load and unload and dispatch and load plan and everything. But you just mentioned all these other people that we don't even think about that has something to do with this industry. This is just a large conglomerate of things,
It's like I like to say, it's everybody has a cog in the wheel that makes it turn.
Right. And we're all one big family,
Yes.
and we all work together. We may butt heads of, this one's hauling this freight or that, whatever. But but thank you, because you just opened my eyes and my ears of how much extra is out there that goes in, because everybody sees the driver, everybody, sees the guy unloading or loading and stuff like that. But you're talking about a lot of stuff in the back room that a lot of people don't get to hear about and see about. So thank you.
You're welcome.
But I do have a question. Tim brought up the road team. Was you involved in the making of the road team?
I was not. I came to ATA a couple years after that. That was actually Tom Donahue, who was president of ATA, and some of our vendors came together, and trucking was getting a bad rap like we, have in the past. And they thought, what better way than to put the people that are on the road, driving the road, and representing the industry. And I think there was maybe 6 in the very beginning, and they did maybe an event each a year. So I was not, but I did come shortly thereafter. So I know some of the early ons, like the Tony Jamays and the Yuli Bells and, Jimmy Wilcox and those folks that there was a woman named Dorothy Bryant from Safeway. That was our first female. And then I don't know if you guys know Maggie Peterson. She's been retired from Roadway for years, but she's still active, on Facebook and still catches up with folks. But yeah, so that was early on. I wasn't involved in the beginning, but I remember it happening in early parts of it.
And you had a lot to do with what it has evolved into today.
Yes, I would say I had a big vision, and I had a lot of support from the leaders at ATA and the team to let me sort of go forth and conquer. And I had the companies that employ all of you were incredibly supportive as well. And then to be able to get the drivers and, of course, the sponsors, Volvo and Mack at that time, were really our big sponsors. Michelin at one point when I was there. But, just it takes, like it says, it takes a family to make something happen. And we had a really good time. And made a big difference.
Exactly, and it does make a difference. Every time I get to go on an event, you are making a difference. You hear that in the questions, you see that in their eyes, and it is evolved. And you know, I was listening to Mark Willis today, and he had two ladies on talking about the no zones, share the road, and stuff like that. So more and more companies are getting into that because it is about safety. Like
Absolutely.
like I said in the beginning, why when it pours down rain or traffic comes to a halt or you get to a stoplight, they pick up their phone.
Yeah.
Leave it down. Leave it
Put
down.
it down. Put
Yeah.
it down.
And that's the word we got to get out, you know.
Yeah.
So, Tim.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, for those that don't know it, and somebody that might come across this podcast later, or on YouTube or whatever, and we're talking about a road team, to kind of define what a road team is.
Sure. A road team is a group of professional truck drivers that want to go out and be an ambassador for the industry and represent, really now I think it's 3.6 million professional drivers, to try to change the image, but really to educate the motoring public, community leaders, business leaders, public policy leaders, about what the trucking industry is and what they do, and especially what it takes to become a professional truck driver. So they're ambassadors, they're educators, and it's not just America's road team, but there's state road teams, there's company road teams, and so folks have really taken off. In fact, you were mentioning, I think, Wisconsin, Steve, and Wisconsin was the very first state trucking association road team. Which is always, I remember that because when I had hired Joy House, I don't think you guys were there then, but her dad had run the Wisconsin Motor Carriers Association. And I said, what do you know about road teams? And just like what I look for in the drivers, her eyes sparkled. And she said, well, Wisconsin was the first one. And I was like, you're hired. You're going to respect the drivers. But they go, the road team goes, to schools to talk about sharing the road, to get kids up in the seat of the cab to see what they can and can't see. They'll go to different trucking shows, different, groups. They'll work with motor carrier enforcement, law enforcement. They'll take a truck or just themselves to state capitol, and really to portray a positive image, but to educate them on the professional driver and the trucking industry and try to keep our roads and highways as safe as possible.
Gotcha. So, road team captain, what kind of qualities make up a good road team captain? And you've already mentioned a little bit about what kind of impact they can have. But can you
Right.
speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I think a perfect road team captain is somebody that's passionate about what they do, passionate about safety. They want to educate, they want to make a difference. They don't do it for the jacket or for the recognition, but they do it for the real reason of being a road team captain, which is highway safety, and to try to attract others into the industry and to explain what the trucking industry does, why we're essential, why they need us, why, they can't just say trucks aren't allowed in town. How would you get your goods, or how would you get to the grocery store? So I think those are really, for me, that's what I looked for when I was in charge of the road team. I always looked for that twinkle in the eye, that, real passion, that good story. I didn't care if you could make a speech, even though that's what you have to do. I always feel like I could train you to do that. I can help you that way, but I can't help you if you don't have the passion or the will or the want to educate.
I know that some people have reached out to me here recently because I know those application processes are coming up.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they asked me the question, what do I need to do? And so I want to ask you the question: what advice would you give to a driver hoping to become either a company road team captain, a state road team captain, or America's road team captain?
Sure. I would the first piece of advice I would say would be to sit down and really think about if this is something you want to do. Do you want to give up some of your weekends? Do you want to give up some of your time? Can you be away from your family for a day to 3 days to 4 days? Think about if you really want to go out there and educate the motoring public. Are you good with kids? Can you go to a school and walk around and show them the no zones, get them excited to get up in the cab of the truck? But I think it really comes down to passion, and passion for your career and for what you do, and pride in what you do. Because if you don't have pride in what you do and you don't have passion, you're not going to be genuine or authentic, and people can pick that out right away. And so I think that's it. I would go in without, as humble as I can possibly be, realize that there's a lot of other people that want to do the same thing as you do. And I would get to know everybody. I mean, the more people you know, the more you learn. And I think that's important as well.
Okay. All right. Stevie, you have something?
Yeah, go in with a cold. That way, when your voice is cracking, I don't know if your nerves or you're dying of a cold like I was that Monday.
Yeah, I remember that. And I would also say, listen to your mentors. If you're going for America's Road Team, they give you a mentor, and listen to them, and don't think you're better than them or that your company is going to tell you something different. Those mentors are chosen because they know what they're looking for. So
Right. Yeah, you've got to have the heart for it. I mean, that's what I tell everybody. If it's in your heart, it's going to turn into a passion, which is going to turn in for your love, and you're going to want to speak about it.
Absolutely.
And you want to correct all the wrong wordage, verbiage, whatever that they try to put on us.
Absolutely.
Lead by example. And I try to do that every day. Try to leave a nice gap. Try to use my turn signal. I mean, I try to lead by example. Does people pay attention to it? Well, I don't know. Some do, some don't. But
yeah, I guess the other thing I would say, though, you bring up a good point, is you do have to have a good safety record.
Yes.
Yeah, that helps.
Yes, that helps a lot.
And follow the rules and regs,
Vince, we're kind of talking about that. What is one misconception that the public or policymakers have about the trucking industry?
There's so many of them.
Oh, yes.
I would say, I think that, it doesn't take a lot of skill, or there's not a lot of training. I think that's one of them. That's a big misconception. I think that, what it takes to be safe and how important it is. And nobody, when you're talking to them, they don't realize you have to get your medical card renewed. You have random drug and alcohol testing, that you have ongoing safety training, that, if you have one little hiccup, I guess I would say, you get called in and you go through all of that. They have no idea what it takes to even get your CDL, yet alone to keep your CDL. I think that's one of them. I think probably also one misconception is that everybody is out on the road for 3 to 4 months at a time, or 3 to 4 weeks at a time.
Right.
And I think one of the things that this industry can do better is to talk more about, there's so many different driving jobs in the industry, whether it's city pickup and delivery, whether it's regional, whether it's, you're home every other night. There's just so many other jobs in the industry that we can attract more people, especially the younger people, especially now with all of the technology.
Right.
Yeah, one big thing that I tell people, if you've got the gotta go syndrome, as I call it, go be a race car driver.
Yeah.
Because gotta go in this industry is going to take it away from safety. You need to slow down. You'll be there when you get there. You can't. And that's the thing. A lot of people will ask you, well, what time are you going to be here? Well, I project this time. But better give me a little leeway, because I don't know about road construction, an accident, anything could happen, a road closure,
weather.
And my father-in-law used to have a saying, and I laughed about it, but I use it a lot. They said, "When are you going to be here?" I said, "Well, when you see the whites of my eyes, I'll be there. I've just arrived." It's just, but that's a misconception too. They think go 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 go. Well,
I
you
agree.
you
Yeah.
you got if you want to go go go, go be a NASCAR driver or something. That's supposed to go fast.
I think one of the other things, though, and this plays into what America's Road Team does and what professional drivers, you don't have to be a road team to go out there and educate. Anybody can do that. But I think there's the myth is trucks are the only ones that cause the accidents or are responsible for most roadway accidents out there. And, in reality, data shows that 3 out of 4 truck car accidents and fatalities are caused by, and I like to say unintentionally, the car driver or the four-wheeler or two-wheeler. And I like to say that because I just feel like they're not educated on how to share the road with a truck, or your blind spots, or the stopping and merging distances and things like that. And so I think that's always really important to keep talking about, why, education is so important. And you don't want always to just blame the truck driver, because that's really easy to do because you're bigger than most of them.
Right, right. And the road team and the professional drivers, and I'm going to speak about the professional drivers that are part of the Share the Road program. That is an important program when you have a professional driver out there going and educating kids in the high school and putting them in the seat and showing them those 4 blind spots. That really makes an impact on them whenever they get up there and they can't see that car or that truck in that right side blind spot. And, you know, and that kind of leads me into this, Elizabeth. Those programs, what kind of impact have those programs had as far as safety goes?
Oh my gosh, those programs have made such a big difference. I mean, even if you figure one event you do and you can save one life by one person embracing what you've told them, just think about that. How many events did we do under my tenure? Um, when you talk about just getting a kid up there, it's the same as, I remember we were in West Virginia at the state capitol one year, and they were trying to get a cell phone bill passed, to no handhelds. And we had taken the image truck with the simulator in it, the driving simulator. And one of the members of the media came in and she said, "I'm going to try this." And they filmed her, and she was trying to drive and text at the same time, and she crashed within 2 seconds. But they played that on the air on all the channels in West Virginia. And just think of what an impact that made.
Right.
So it's not just getting students up there or the motoring public, but it's the media, it's policymakers, to see really what you can and can't see. And, also to do a ride along, that's the most invaluable. I mean, that is incredibly valuable. I'll never forget, the first time a reporter came, and I think we were in Cleveland or Toledo, Ron Hawkins, and she was like front page editor of the paper there in Toledo Times, maybe it was called. And she said, "I already have my story written," and we talked her into getting up into the cab and going with Ron. She actually asked to go around the Beltway a second time. So I'm with Kevin Birch at the time. We were at a Toledo trucking event, and we're sitting there looking at our watch, and it is raining and it's cold. And I'm thinking, my God, what happened? Why is he not back yet? And of course, you can't text him or call him or ask him.
Right.
And so we're just sitting there. And then finally they pulled in, and she got out of the truck and she said, "I was totally wrong. I'm going to I'll be up all night rewriting my story." And it came out to be like one of the most positive stories because she saw people texting. She saw people cutting Ron off, things like that. And so those are life lessons and firsthand knowledge of what it's like to be a professional truck driver.
Absolutely. So I'm going to open up the phone lines right now. So if you want to call in, get in on the conversation, you can call the show at 251-616-2151. I'll put it in the chat here in just a minute. Elizabeth, we're going to kind of transition into some of the industry insights that you have and your personal vision. So and if a phone call comes in, we'll just break right into the phone call.
Okay.
All right. So, what changes do you hope to see in the trucking industry, over the next 10 years?
So, me, it's all about the public image of the industry. I think that's one of the biggest challenges. I hope to see a continued shift in public image. I mean, we've made a big difference. But you still have folks that say, I'm just a truck driver, or, oh, I work in the trucking industry. You know, they're sort of embarrassed. So to be able to still continue to gain pride in the driver, the workforce, even the CEOs, you know, I think is important. But to be able to continue promoting the industry, promoting the professional driver, to be able to attract new talent. I mean, you guys know the retirement age is big, and there's a lot of folks retiring. And then also there's a lot of people that, especially during these economic times, are leaving the industry. So in order to continue to deliver the freight, we need to let people know what a great career it is. We're the backbone of the economy. We need drivers, dispatchers, safety personnel, you know, everybody. I mean, there's jobs for anybody and everybody in trucking. But staying focused on promoting the image of the industry and doing the right things, and, you know, programs, you know, even like the Next Gen, or, you know, all of the good work Atri does with their statistics and being able to show the bottlenecks and the operational cost of trucking and things like that, I think are all really important to continue to educate and promote.
Right. So, Elizabeth, we have a phone call that's come in. Let's see if we can find out who's on the phone line here. Hey, welcome to Truckers Voices. Who do we have on the phone tonight?
Hey, Tim, it's Jeff Wade. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Jeff. Good to hear you in there, brother. So I'm glad you called in. You know, actually, Jeff, I went back and I listened to the interview that I had with you back in 2023, I believe it was, and it was a great interview, man. I'm not being narcissistic by no means, but I was listening and I was like, wow, I forgot that we had that, and you had a good story, Jeff. So I'm going to back off the mic and let you talk to Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth, how you been doing?
I'm great. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I very seldom get home in time to listen to Truckers' Voices, but I got home at a decent time tonight and knew you were on.
Well, thanks.
And said hello. And yeah, it's a really good show tonight. Really good insight. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I had for Steve and Tim, you know, I hadn't seen Jeff in, gosh, I don't know how many years, and got to spend some time with him at the Safety Drive for the Cure this year. So I really enjoyed that and getting to catch up.
Yeah, I was glad to see you there. You're always real involved with that, and man, what a great event that is.
That's awesome. Yeah.
The practice I did there didn't pay off for me at the state competition. I ended up third in my class, but oh well, that's the way it goes. You know.
I always say it's your day or it's not your day. You know, everybody has the skill.
Well, it wasn't my day on the course, I'll tell you that. But anyway, I just wanted to call in and say hello and check in and see how everybody's doing.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, for those listening, Jeff was an America's Road Team captain too, and one of the early ones that I got to know real well. So we appreciate everything that you do. How many years have you been at your company now, Southeastern?
Well, it's the beginning of this month was 49.
I was going to say it was a big year. There's a big year coming up.
Yep.
I don't think there's not a lot of drivers that stay at the same company that long. So hats off to you.
I appreciate it. When you work for great people, it's easy to do.
Exactly. And that's a great company, great family.
Yes, it is.
Well, Jeff, thank you for calling tonight, and it's great to hear you always, and it's always even better to see you. We had another call trying to come in, so we'll open the line back up and let whoever else was calling there. See you, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Well, have a good night.
You too, bud.
All right, that was a good call. That was kind of amazing. I actually listened to the whole podcast that we did with him back in 2023, and he did mention on that podcast that he had 45 years in, and so here we go. Let's answer this call right here. I don't think we're going to get any more questions.
Okay.
Hey, welcome to Truckers Voices. Who do we have on the line?
Thomas Miller.
Hey, Thomas, go ahead and talk to Elizabeth real quick. Like, good to hear you.
Good to hear you, Thomas. I am good. Well, when I was talking about the company that I had driver one-on-one interviews with, Thomas was part of that group and did an amazing job for them.
Yep. That was fun.
Yeah, that was great.
So, Thomas, tell us, how was your experience as a road team captain?
Tremendous. I actually made a comment while you guys was talking about the road team. You know, it was absolutely a turning point. You know, not only in my career, but my whole life. I learned. I went into the selection process thinking that I knew quite a bit about trucking and safety and everything, and quickly found out that I didn't. I've learned so much, since being selected. I mean, that was 13 years ago now, and it was just a turning point, and met some of the greatest people I've ever met. The captains that came on since, and it's just I would highly recommend it to anybody, to be honest with you. So
Absolutely. It's a great family to be a part of. And Elizabeth, you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I would just say that, we've been talking about the trucking industry as a family. And I think, the America's Road Team or the state road teams or company road teams, you all, or even like the emerging leader programs that I'm talking about, you all become like your own little family inside of a bigger family. And you can learn from each other so much and stay in touch. And it's just even more powerful when you put a group together like that.
Absolutely. Well, Thomas, thank you for calling. We're going to clear
Thomas,
the line.
thank you.
Yeah, we're going to let some other people call.
absolutely hope to see y'all soon.
See you.
Me too. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay. Well. So,
and I've had the privilege of meeting Thomas and Jeff, and what a great group of individuals. And you can learn something from everybody.
Each and every one of them.
Exactly. And you was talking about Share the Road being the most important, program that we do. I always incorporate Share the Road.
In anything and everything, yeah.
all right.
Before we get to the end.
We got Eric Stein on the line, so let's talk to Eric real quick.
Who is it?
Eric Stein.
Hi.
Oh.
Good evening.
Eric Stein.
I am calling from almost in Atlanta. I just did a career fair down in Columbus. I saw Tim Black over in Jackson at the TA today.
I saw that on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
What
I'm calling, but I really like the image of the trucking industry. It's so important to be out there and educating the people on having them realize exactly what we go through out here. Like Steve was saying, we don't know like what time we will get there because it all depends on people out on the road. Because you don't want to just hammer down and risk anything.
Absolutely, and I always say patience is the. I don't know how much more patience you guys can have. They're incredible.
Yep. And
yeah, I mean that's the key word when I teach new drivers. The one word I hit them on is you have to have patience out here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, Eric, you travel safe. Go ahead, brother. Finish up. Sorry.
I just wanted to comment on how important the Share the Road program is.
Mm-hmm.
I know being an America's Road Team captain, that is far my favorite thing to do, is getting those kids and whoever it is, actually getting them up in that truck and having them see what we see is so important. It really changes people's view of how to drive around trucks. I feel that's invaluable, to get out there and do that event.
I couldn't agree more.
Thank you for making the America's Road Team. I really enjoy it.
Wow, you were awesome when I was there, so you probably still are.
Thank you,
Eric. You truck safe back up to Atlanta, brother, and I appreciate you stopping by and taking a picture with my plaque there. I'm glad you didn't put bubble gum on it.
Well, that's what I wanted to jump in because I know we're almost out of time, but one of the thoughts I had was, one of my favorite memories is that everybody has a memory. Like each driver I have a memory with, but I couldn't be more proud of all of them. But the two of you this year have really shined with you getting your own TA Petro store. And then Steve, my goodness, driver of the year and grand champion in Ohio. And you guys have really done well this year. Not that you don't every year, but this is sort of a standout year for both of you. And I had the privilege of being with you, Tim, when you got your plaque, and I couldn't have been more proud, and still can't be more proud of all of the captains and all of the drivers, but tonight you two especially.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And yeah, it's coming up to the top of the hour, Elisabeth, for us, and so we're going to be closing the show out here pretty soon. And it's what we call the post-trip part of the show. And thank you for coming on. I do have one last question I would like for you to field, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah. So finally, what's next for you personally? So, and professionally, what projects or goals are on the horizon, if you can speak about it?
Sure. I'll be really quick. I want to continue to do what I'm doing personally. When I was in my prior career, I didn't have time to do anything with anybody. And my nephew is playing rugby at Colby College as a freshman. And he has lived in Hong Kong with my sister and family. So he's here in America. So I've been able to go to all his rugby games and spend some extra time with him. So spending time with family and friends is really, really important to me. I've the past 2.5 years have connected with a lot of people. And then professionally, just to continue what I'm doing to help people meet their goals and succeed. Quick shout out to St. Christopher's Fund and TAT and Race Across America. I'm on the St. Christopher's Fund board and TAT, their advisory committee, and just want to be able to give back to those folks that have helped me in my career along the way.
Absolutely. And it's starting to rain here, and I'm starting to lose some of my internet connection here because I'm on a satellite feed. But if I'm cutting in and out, sorry. But what word of advice would you give a young person for if they're trying to get into this industry?
Do your research. If you talk to professional drivers, there's always drivers that you can talk to. If not, give me a call and I'll hook you up with some. But make sure you know what you want to do and give it a shot. It is a great career choice. It's good for you can have a great livelihood. Stay safe and be true to yourself.
Absolutely. Steve, one last word for you, and go ahead, Steve. You know the drill.
Okay, sounds good. Like I always say, remember the most important trip is the trip home.
All right, Miss Elisabeth, thank you for coming in. It was a great interview. We look forward to having you back on the Truckers Voices in the future. If you know of anybody that's got a story, send them our way. We want to hear it.
I was sure will do. Thank you guys so much. It was a lot of fun tonight.
Absolutely. Right. So tomorrow's a big travel day, Friday going into the weekend. As I always say, y'all slow down, watch out. And, there's plenty of people that's not looking out for themselves. Be right back here on Truckers Voices next week with Paul Sagehorn and the BJ and the Bear Truck. Y'all have a good night. Have a good weekend. We'll see you.
Good night.
Tim and Steve hit the highway bold and free, with diesel dreams rolling on heavy steel. Every mile is a tale they've got to tell. In the night, their stories start to swell. Truck stops light up with their laughter and cheer. On the open road, there's nothing they fear. Friends gather round, sharing thrills and strife. Life in motion, this trucking life. Hailstorms and endless winding lanes, old familiar tunes driving through the rain. Flat tire fixes under starry skies, fueling up on coffee fire in their eyes. Truck stops light up with their laughter and cheer. strive. Life in motion, this trucking life. Memories of highways inked in their mind, freight and friendship closer they bind.